Ataye. The best of self-realized persons. Nama, nama. My respectful obeisances again and again. E.T. thus. Translation. Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto Nara Narayana, the best of all saintly persons, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is the most self-controlled and self-realized. He is free from false prestige, and he is the asset of persons who have no material possessions. He is the spiritual master of all Paramahamsas, who are the most exalted human beings, and he is the master of the self-realized. Let me offer my repeated obeisances at his lotus feet. Okay, text 12. Gayati Cheram Kartasya Sargadishu Yona Bhadyate Nahanyate Dehagato Pidahikai Drashtur Nadrigyasya Gunar Vidusyate Tasmai Namo Sakta Vivikta Sakshine. Translation. Narada, the most powerful saintly sage, always worshipped Narayan by chanting the following mantra. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is the master of the creation, maintenance, and annihilation of the visible cosmic manifestation. Yet he is completely free from false prestige. Although to the foolish he appears to have accepted a material body like us, he is unaffected by bodily tribulations like hunger, thirst, and fatigue. Although he is the witness who sees everything, his senses are unpolluted by the objects he sees. Let me offer my respectful obeisances to that unattached, pure witness of the world, the Supreme Soul, Personality of Godhead. Purport. Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, is described as Sakchit Ananda Vigraha, the body of eternity, transcendental bliss, and full knowledge. Now, in this verse, he is more fully described. Krishna is the creator of the entire cosmic manifestation, yet he is unattached to it. If we were to construct a very tall skyscraper, we would be very attached to it. But Krishna is so renounced that although he has created everything, he is not attached to anything, na padyate. Furthermore, although Krishna has his transcendental form, Sakchidananda Vigraha, he is not disturbed by the bodily necessities of life, which are called daihika. For example, he is never hungry, thirsty, or fatigued. Nahanyate dehagato vidaihikai. Then again, since everything is Krishna's property, he sees everything and is present everywhere. But because his body is transcendental, he is above vision. The objects of vision, in the process of. Sorry. Okay, let me start that again. Then again, since everything is Krishna's property, he sees everything and is present everywhere. But because his body is transcendental, he is above vision, the objects of vision, and the process of vision. When we see someone beautiful, we are attracted. The sight of a beautiful woman immediately attracts a man, and the sight of a man naturally attracts a woman. Krishna, however, is transcendental to all these faults. Although he is the seer of everything, he is not afflicted with faulty vision. Nadriya gyasya gunar vidusyate. Although he is the witness and seer, he is aloof from all affection for the activities he sees. He is always unattached and separate. He is only a witness. Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Mama jnanati mirandasya gananjana salakaya chakshuan militam yena tasmai Shri Gurave namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swa Padantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utapada Kamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavam Sa Shri Rupam Sagrajatan Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvetam Sarvadutam Harijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vishnabhebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasudi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Okay, so welcome again, everyone. Nice to be in your presence. As we get our daily dose of spiritual wisdom. Okay, so in this verse, we're seeing the glories of the Lord in the form of Narayana. And some of the qualities of the Lord are being described in the Lord's incarnation of Narayana. So, see, for example, he's the most self-controlled and self-realized, free from false prestige. You know, he's the asset of those who have no material possessions. So we can see many is explained in both this verse and the next verse. He is the master of creation, maintenance, and annihilation. Yet he is completely free from false prestige. So we're seeing so many of these qualities of the Lord being described. So, of course, if a fundamental aspect of our philosophy is the relationship between the jiva, us, who are expansions of the Lord, and the Lord, that relationship is one of servant and served. There's many verses describing this, how mam evam so jiva loke. So we are just, the living entity is just a portion of the Lord, a small expansion of him, and with the created with the intention of giving the Lord service. So who wants to enjoy in their lonesome, right? It's if one is supreme enjoyer, then one naturally want to enjoy with others. Just like someone may have a big, huge house, many cars, but if there's no one to enjoy it with, then what's the use, right? Then this person will get some dog or cat, something, armadillo, some type of companion, because that's where the enjoyment comes from, is the rasa between personalities. So in the same way, the Lord has created us, with this intention that we have this relationship with him as servants. Of course, in the higher stages, He wants us to forget that position of knowing that we're his servants. Uh, he wants us to be in the illusion that we are, that he actually, that he is actually, for example, our child. And if we don't feed him, then he'll go hungry. So that's a type of illusion. But anyways, for the stage that at least I myself am at, it's trying to realize this aspect of service to the Lord. That yes, Krishna is the supreme, and I'm just his servant. And so these verses are so nice because they're delineating how this is actually so, how Krishna is so wonderful, all the qualities of Krishna, and how yes, we cannot attain these qualities in full. So I remember traveling. One time we were doing we would do this big yagi every year, warp tour, and it was just, somebody called it, it was the greatest yagi in the universe, because going to all these festivals and distributing books to, I mean, as book distributors, we had access to thousands and thousands of teenagers, to distribute books to. So it was quite a yagya, and wasn't much time for, our ordinary things that we might do in normal times. We'd just pretty much distribute books all day, have a condensed morning program, then jump in the van and drive to the next spot. So one devotee who had a very strict regiment of studying the Shastra and learning slokas, he made a quote one time that he said, I feel like because of this yajna, I'm losing. I've how do you say? I've lost out on so much of my studies, and I've missed out on so much of my um, like studies and my spiritual shastric strength. And our Sankirtan leader was very disappointed with this. He said, he was making the point that what's the use of your, trying to become powerful yourself? Better is to worship the all-powerful personality, which is, of course, what we were doing there to a very intense extent. So it's a good point. I always remember that, yes, whatever we may try to do to kind of better ourselves, we'll actually never reach to the state of being as powerful as the Lord. And but by serving the Lord, then okay, we can actually get something for his service. Like it's described that to get the just like we have to get the certain qualifications to be able to serve the Lord. For example, we have to be liberated from material desires. So it's described that there's the example is given that just like to serve a king, one has to attain certain qualities. Not just anyone, can serve the king. It requires certain qualities. But one's striving for those qualities in themselves is missing the point. So, which is, of course, what the whole world is doing. Let me become strong. Let me become smart. Whatever. Because by doing these things, yes, then I will become God. But what happens, you know? Everyone, they always fall short somewhere or other, and they're just disappointed in their pursuits. Um, um, yeah, I mean, we see that so many times. Someone, they become the best at something, or they obtain something, and they realize, oh my God, what was the use of all this? You know, I thought by attaining this, I was gonna have everything, but now I'm just, you know, I realized that it was only this illusion that was pushing me forward. It's like the example of the carrot at the, you know, in front of the donkey, or a, a more modern example, more yeah, modern example, which we, which some of the men in the ashram and myself experienced, was we went to, you know, we have these outings, men's outings, where we go and try to, yeah, do some activity outside the farm, and to just connect on a connect in an environment that's, you know, not just in our day-to-day service routine. So we went to a go-karting in Carlisle, and the go-karting was nice, and but you know, the thing was to get in and out of the to access the go-karting place, you have to go through this whole arcade. So we finished the go-karting a little early and thought, well, now we're at this arcade, you know, we have some time. So let's just do some arcading, you know. So we did, yeah, all these various activities. And one and one there was this some of the boys said, we want to win this PS5, which is like, yeah, the newest PlayStation, I believe. You know, we want to do this game so we can win it, so we can, you know, sell it and make money for the temple. And it seemed so simple. All it was, this gaming system was in a box, and the box was attached to a string. So all you had to do was you'd push a button, and this blade would move. And as soon as you release your hand from the button, then the blade would stop in that place and cut. So it seemed like, okay, yeah, seemed quite simple, you know? And we were thinking, oh yeah, yeah, we'll all try. We'll all get a chance, and surely we'll win this, you know, PS5, sell it, get some Lakshmi for the temple. Because it's so easy, you know? It's right. It's just seemed like, how could we not, you know? Just a little string, just have to push this button. So um yeah, so I was loading up the card, you know, all of us were just, you know, there around this little machine, just ready, you know, ready to bask in the glory of going home with this gaming system. And so this is like, yeah, it's like the material world, you know, you see it, the enjoyment just seems so close. It just seems like one little cut of a string away. But even I actually even got a warning from the one of the let's say the allegorical shastra or sage. um I was asking while I was loading up the card, I was asking, well, you know, can you, I was asking the staff, can you guys give me some tips, you know, how can we, you know, get this, you know, what's the trick to getting the game? And and then the guy said, just keep trying, and you'll keep trying. Just keep, something like, yeah, just, in other words, just keep wasting your money, and maybe you'll get it. So should have taken that warning as a sign that yeah, it wasn't going to be possible. And he said, and then the girl that was there was a little more, uh, I guess, caring. She was saying, yeah, many people play, but not, people don't win. So similarly, in the material world, we also get certain hints like this, like the World Wide Web. It's like, um, you know, the World Wide Web, it entangles you. So, anyways, there's hints in the material world like that of the futility of our attempts to enjoy. Anyway, so we try and actually, one of us on the first try, we got so close. We actually like cut some strands of the string. And so that gave us more and more enthusiasm. Yes, yes, we'll do it next time. And then we tried a few more times and then Kala Swarup Prabhu, the uh the word of the word of reason, he said, guys, this is just a waste of time. We're wasting Krishna's Lakshmi. This um there's no, it's not possible to win. Probably if even if you cut it, the blade won't be strong enough to cut. So it was a little hard, but we all knew, okay, he's speaking the truth. He is speaking the truth. So so anyways, this is what the material world is like. It seems so close, but the enjoyment doesn't come. Um, so yeah, so as we know, we're actually all we are all fully Krishna conscious. Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema Sadhu Kabanai Shravanadi Sutta Chete Karya Udai. CC tells us that actually everyone has Krishna consciousness dormant within their heart, and it simply has to be awakened by the process of hearing and chanting. So it's amazing to think that our anyone with material conceptions is actually just in a unwell state. They're actually just in a sick state of mind, right? When somebody is sick, um, they're not acting in their kind of more natural state. We can tell, okay, this person is usually very strong, but now because of this sickness, he's become kind of, his character qualities have changed. So similarly, we're our not being fully devoted to the Lord is actually it's a sickness. It's an illusion. It's a temporary state. It's, as we know, you know, Krishna's light expansion is coming across the world. But then, what is Maya? Maya is this covering, um, this covering illusion that the material world is covered by. And yeah, we have to, and the prescription is there, right? How to get free from this disease of ignorance. Um, so yeah, I was thinking that this is the whole. Well, first of all, okay, yeah, we should gauge how sick am I? How we should do, yeah, just like someone takes their temperature, we should constantly be taking our temperatures. How is my material fever doing? And what's a barometer of that is, yes, what is my attraction to hearing and chanting? What is my desire to serve, do selfless service? Um, how is my uh, yeah, pretty much what is my desire to engage in devotional service? How much do I want to devote my life to the guru, or how much am I thinking that other things are more important? that I have other priorities in life. So yeah, Maya attacks us at our plan making and our prioritizing. So we should ask ourselves, yeah, how sick am I? Um, and then based on that, we know, okay, we either need to increase the hearing and chanting, because as that CC verse I just quoted said that this natural love of God can be awakened by the process of hearing and chanting. So how much do I need? How, so yeah, how much am I, do our personal, uh, after we do our personal evaluation, diagnostic, diagnosis, we can know, okay, how much do we need to increase the hearing and chanting, increase the attentiveness like this. And of course, japa is essential. And, I was hearing my Guru Maharaj say that the thing about japa is you need a sacred place and a sacred time. Okay, every day at this time, I'm going to sit down in this sacred space and chant the holy names. Generally it's good to do it somewhere that doesn't remind you of all the other tasks that you have to do. I probably wouldn't want to go chant my japa in the garden, for example, because I'll just be making a to-do list while I'm there. So yeah, sacred place and sacred time. And the nice thing about a sacred time is that every day this is what I do, right? There's no ifs and or buts about it. So when the mind starts telling you, no, you should do this, no, you should do that. What about this thing? What about that? No, no. Every morning, this is what I do, and this is what I'm going to do now. Because generally we see that, right? Start chanting japa, and then we think of like a million things we're supposed to do, and then when we're actually like planning out what we have to do, then you realize, man, these things weren't so important. But somehow during japa, like these things take on special significance. So we should, yeah, the mind should be kind of corralled into submission that, yeah, every morning, this is what I'm doing, no matter what. Okay, mind, this is just what we do. I'm sorry. This at, whatever, 5 a.m., you sit down and you chant. So mind, just chill out. This is what, and eventually the mind, okay, it will just be peaceful with it. Okay, all right. But I can't win this person over. So, you know, whatever. The mind is walking away with, discouraged with his head hanging low. Um, so yeah, and then hearing, so it's all about, it's Krishna consciousness it's very simple. It's about contact with the spiritual um, sound vibration and contact with spiritual activities. Um, this is the method, like Prabhupada said. You go to the temple 1 day, 2 days, 3 days. Eventually, you'll become a devotee. Eventually, by visiting the temple once, twice, thrice, continually, continually, continually. Then eventually, one will become a devotee. So it's a nice benediction given by Prabhupada. And if we um, take the mood of Mukunda and the Chaitanya Charitamrita, who was ecstatic after being told he would be able to get darshan of the Lord after 10 million lifetimes, he was happy. So that same way we're happy that probably it's not going to take that long. Just go to the temple every day for whatever 50 years, and hopefully you'll become a devotee by then. Um, so yes, life isn't meant for you know, overexertion for material things, which is what the current is trying to. If you just let yourself flow in the current of this world, then you're gonna start thinking, I have to attain this, I have to attain that. So many things I have to acquire and like that. And of course, it's not easy with modern technology because, what a great marketing scheme. Your phone is just a reservoir of uh, advertisements trying to allure you at every moment. You can't even look at a recipe for making some Krishna prasad without being bombarded with some advertisements. So if we just let ourselves flow with the current of material existence, then all these desires will come up. Like my Guru Maharaj says, for a devotee, there's no neutral state. Um, one can't just think, oh yeah, I'll just practice devotional service a little, I'll kind of like tread water. I'll just practice a little, but also have a little of my material life, He says, no, there's no treading water. Either you're swimming upstream to make advancement in devotional service and living the um living a life of trying to increase one's devotional service, increase one's sadhana, or you're going downstream. You're going to be swept downstream. There's no neutral state one can just stay at. There's no treading water. Um, so yeah, the material world, it's constantly trying to get us to increase all these things, to become like how we're hearing all these qualities of the Lord. So the material world is trying to get us to think that we can actually attain these things. Um, so therefore, one should live a life conducive to self-realization, lifestyle engineering. And for example, so the question comes up sometimes, well, how do I know if you know, how do I know what's over endeavor? We hear Rupa Goswami says, one should not endeavor for material things, mundane acquisitions. So how do we know what is over endeavor? Well, how is your sadhana? Is your sadhana being compromised? If it is, then okay, that's over endeavor. And of course, different people have different levels of endeavor. One can't, you know, if I look at Dhruva Maharaj and the temple president here, and I try to do what he does in a day, I even if I try to do what he does in a day in a week, I probably won't get much hearing and chanting because I just don't operate on that level. So it's different for different people. But yeah, the main thing is get is not living a life to where you're getting so whatever, you're missing the point. So that's a good barometer. Is are these and even are these endeavors compromising my spiritual life? And even for spiritual pursuits, I want to do this and that for the service of the Lord. Okay, well, that's nice. You want to do that, but um, how is it affecting is your hearing and chanting about Krishna being compromised? Then okay, it's over endeavor. And as we've seen in the history of our movement, many devotees actually haven't even recovered themselves, haven't bounced back from um, from these great endeavors to spread the Krishna conscious movement, which compromised their sadhana. So yeah, there's many histories of these devotees coming to Prabhupada and saying, this leader, he's not actually chanting. He's not. So yes, devotees, and um, yeah. So I was thinking, yes, it's very nice actually. These farm projects are very, very nice in that it's a cooperative effort in order to live a spiritually conducive life, right? Like as I've heard, it's hard to maintain oneself, and it's only getting harder. Um, by maintain oneself, I mean yes, like whatever outside of the temple environment. But um, the concept of like communal living, it's actually very conducive because you're working together, you're synergizing. Um, the sum of the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. So yeah, collectively one can be more productive than one would on one's own. Um, and yes, this is conducive to uh, to spiritual life. Um, for example, yeah, lives if one lives in a community, okay, that means one person's cooking. I don't remember the last time I had to cook. So that means that, theoretically I have that much more time for hearing and chanting. Oh yeah. So there's an example of this. Somebody went around a farmer's market and they saw, okay, yeah, like some whatever analytical reporter person. So they saw, okay, there's all these farmers and they, have their own house, their own property, their own farm operations. And then they come every week, they come together for these farmers markets and they sell their products. So this analyst, he yeah started analyzing, taking the data and kind of doing some calculations, and he realized that if these farmers were to just work together, they'd actually be millionaires. But because they are each working on their own, having their own coolers, having their own, having to pay for their own tools like this, then actually they're just struggling to get by, to make it. So it's an interesting example, but it exemplifies the point of how, yes, maybe, in this world, then this is at least a benefit of living in community is that, yes, let's work together so that we can, have a decent life, satisfy our basic necessities, but at the same time, have time for hearing and chanting. So here at Gita Nagari, it's so nice. One just does 6 hours of service a day, 6 hours or 8 hours, 6 or 8 hours. That's all you're obliged to do. The rest of the time, you can read, chant. So, so yeah. Anyways, that's one thought I just had about this, and just, I guess, for my own inspiration. Um, um, yeah. So we need this daily dose of wisdom, of spiritual knowledge, of contact with devotional service to keep our motivations pure. Okay. So I think I'll stop there. Um, if there are any questions or comments, devotees can feel free to speak up now.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hey, the Supreme Prabhu, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Taraka Prabhu.
How are you doing?
I'm doing okay. Thank you.
Great.
Thank you for asking.
I I hope you don't mind if I digress briefly, but I wanted to um, talk a little bit about the question that you had yesterday, Srimad Bhagavatam class.
Mm.
If I understood the question correctly, you were asking about, I think, particularly for those devotees who maybe are not necessarily so transcendently situated, um, when there is some question of performing one's prescribed duty or not. Um, because in the third chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna explains that to perform another's duty, it's dangerous, that one should perform their own duty, even if it's imperfectly performed. It's better than to perform another's duty. So um, I think you were asking what then is the situation for you, because for a Vaishnava, for a devotee, they are supposed to be actually transcendental to Varna and Ashram. They also in the third chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna explains that uh, self-realized soul has no duty to perform. Uh, there is no prescribed duty for those that are self-realized, but they will perform their prescribed duty anyway, just to set an example for the general mass of people. So I think your question was, so what about those who are not necessarily so advanced, um, that they could be said to have no prescribed duty? Um, how important is it that they actually perform their prescribed duty and not deviate from that? I think that's what the question was. Anyway, so um, and Agari Krishna, who addressed this question very nicely, explained a whole bunch of things, including the fact that for the Brahmins, they can perform actually the duty of other Varnas, and and maybe I spaced out and didn't hear everything that he said, but I think that he did not mention that um, the Vaishnavas also, regardless of their Varna, a Vaishnava also can perform the duty of other Varnas, because a Vaishnava is um, actually supposed to be better than a Brahmin, is better than Brahmin. So, um, But you were asking about individuals who are not necessarily so advanced. So what is their position? And so the answer, I think, is that it's given by Krishna himself in the 18th chapter, where he explains the final conclusion of Bhagavad Gita, because throughout Bhagavad Gita he's presenting various arguments to Arjuna for why he should fight, and he discusses many different processes of yoga, different means to progress in spiritual life, and along the way, he and Arjuna both reject certain certain processes as being impractical. So Ashtanga Yoga, for example, Arjuna says, easier to control the wind. So, very difficult, not practical for him as a Kshatriya. So the conclusion, after discussing so many different things, and Krishna is talking about prescribed duties, he's talking about Varna and Ashram, he's talking about different processes of yoga, he's talking about many different subject matters, and gradually progressing through that. Bhagavad Gita is a progression from one chapter to the next. There's a progression. At the conclusion of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna instructs Arjuna to forget about all these things, throw it all out. Says Sarva Dharman Parityaja Mamikam Sharanam Praja Ham Tvam Sarva Papebhyo Mokshaya Shami Machar Jahan. Says abandon all varieties of religion. Purport Srila Prabhupada explained is that when he's speaking of Dharma, Sarva Dharma, all Dharma, he's talking about Varna and Ashram. He's talking about prescribed duties. He's saying, forget about all this. Let's keep it simple. All you have to do, Arjuna, is you just follow my instruction. Just act with devotion for me. Just simply follow my instructions. And that's all you need to do. And when you do that, I am personally promising you that you will incur no sinful reaction. I will protect you from all sinful reactions. And that's the answer to your question, that you may act outside your prescribed duty because circumstantially you are obliged to do so. Sometimes we are obliged to do the needful, and the needful sometimes is outside the parameters of our particular varna. But if we are acting on Krishna's instructions, and how do we act on Krishna's instructions? Because we may not necessarily be directly in touch with Krishna, but we have contact with Krishna's representative. So by following the instructions of the spiritual master, we are always properly situated. And as far as Varna and Ashram, doesn't matter. We're not concerned with Varna and Ashram. Vaishnavas are above Varna and Ashram. Srila Prabhupada has explained that these prescribed duties are for the non-devotees. For the Vaishnavas, they are supposed to be transcendental to all these things. And what about those who are not particularly advanced? It doesn't matter what their level of advancement is. If they have surrendered to Krishna by surrendering to Krishna's representative, then by that simple act of agreeing to follow those instructions, they immediately, automatically transcend the obligation to perform prescribed duties. And Krishna then personally protects them from whatever reaction may be there. So when Krishna says to follow another's duty is dangerous, for the devotee, there is no danger. there's no danger because Krishna is protecting. So if I understood your question correctly, that's the answer I would provide. So I hope I answered your question, but this is it's an important question, and it's a question that devotees very often raise because um, they're concerned about the proper course of action. And after reading the third chapter of Bhagavad Gita, they come away with the impression that it's very important to perform prescribed duties, that they have to act within the parameters of their varna and ashram. Otherwise, they're situated in a dangerous position. And Krishna says that it's better to perform your own duty, even if you do that imperfectly, than to do someone else's duty. So of course, devotees are thinking, well, I should be doing my own duty, whatever that is. And sometimes devotees are confused about, what actually is my varna, and it's difficult to ascertain because we typically are of mixed varnas. We're not clearly one varna or another. In Kali Yuga, people are a mixture of many different varnas. There was a time when the human species in Vedic culture, marriages were arranged in a very specific way. It's not that just anyone could marry anyone, but there were specifically arranged marriages between individuals of certain varnas in order to ensure or to try to ensure to increase the likelihood that the offspring would be purely of one varna or another. And the process, which it was just a very advanced process of hybridization. Um, um, the effort actually was to try to maintain purely bred human beings, and it was successful for millennia, for a very long time. But in Kali Yuga, that process breaks down completely. Um, you can't say that someone is simply a Kshatriya or a Vaishya or this or that. They have a little bit of the qualities of many different varnas because they are a bizarre mix of all different modes of nature. Because for thousands of years, marriages have been done without any thought or care as to the varna and how the modes of nature are going to mix. So people are of mixed modes of nature, and mostly uh, just a heavy mix of tamagun and rajagun. Mostly, we understand from Shastra that the low Shudras, Sambhava, that typically everyone in Kali Yuga is simply Shudra or less than Shudra. So there's not even any question of Brahmins or Kshatriyas. It's just all Shudras and less than Shudras. So what does that mean? That we should all only be following the dharma for a Shudra, basically just taking employment from someone else. But that's not how Srila Prabhupada engaged his disciples, um, either with a concern for their particular situation in the modes of nature. If they had a little bit of an inclination towards one sort of activity or another, he might engage them according to that, or sometimes with apparently no regard for their inclination. He would just simply ask them to do something sometimes which was contrary to their particular nature. But it didn't matter. Um, just by following that order, automatically the devotees are protected from whatever pitfalls there might be to acting outside of their um, their situation and the modes of nature. It just simply doesn't matter. By following that order, they automatically become transcendently situated, and Krishna gives them all protection. Um, Sometimes it's difficult to act outside of your conditioned nature. There was once a GBC resolution that suggested that as far as practically possible, that leaders should try to engage the devotees according to their particular nature, because it was seen that sometimes devotees would have a lot of difficulty trying to act outside of that particular nature. They might fall down or deviate in some way. So it was suggested that, as far as it is practical, you try to engage them according to their nature. And that's, it's a good idea. But it's not absolutely necessary. And very important to always remember that that ultimately we have nothing to do with Varna and Ashram, not simply because we're Vaishnavas, but because nobody has anything to do with Varna and Ashram, because the spirit soul has nothing to do with the material nature, because we are all ultimately transcendental to the modes of nature. We become conditioned by the modes of nature, but it's an upadi, it's a temporary designation. It's just contamination by the modes of material nature, and the pure spirit soul has nothing to do with any of that. So therefore, Lord Chaitanya said, I am not any of these things. I am not I'm not a Brahmin, I'm not a Kshatriya or a Vaishya or a Shudra. I'm not this or that. I'm not any of these things. I'm just a servant to the servant to the servant of Krishna, the master of the gopis. So that's everyone's situation. We are all simply das anudas, and we have nothing to do with these other things. So at some point or other, we have to embrace our true identity and refrain from identifying with these temporary designations. And you can do that at any time. You can do that immediately. There's no bar. You don't have to wait. You can choose at any time. I'm not going to identify with this material body and all the baggage that comes along with it. I am Krishna's servant, and that's all. And act on that basis. I am the servant of my spiritual master, period. And anyway, we've gone over time, so I'll leave it at that. Thank you for a nice class, Dasi Prem Prabhu. I always appreciate your classes, and I appreciate your questions as well. They are important and thought-provoking. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Dharka Prabhu. Definitely some nice encouragement and food for thought, and I guess realignment with the conclusions of the Shastra. Appreciate that. All right, thank you. Thank you, everyone, those who stuck around. Ganta Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaura Premanande Hari Hari Bo. Hare Krishna.